Alright, so this one's a Pythagorean Theorem. A squared plus b squared is c squared. And they want to figure out the distance from second to home. So you got to look at this 90-degree triangle. And that's A, that's B, that is your C. Your hypotenuse is opposite that 90 degree. So then you just go 90 squared plus 90 squared equals c squared. Add those together and take the square root, and you should end up with B. So as long as you can set it up from here on out, the rest is just arithmetic. But if you can set it up right, that's the big part. 17, slope. Okay, slope is m is rise over run. It's a lot of things. It's y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So if you do it this way, you just gotta remember these are x's, these are y's, and then you just go y minus the other y, and then x minus the x. Or you could go the other way, you could go y minus that y, but then you'd have to do 2 minus a minus 3. So either way, you're going to get 10 over a negative 5, which is a negative 2, or you're going to get a negative 10 over 5, which is still a negative 2. So it's got to be D. Unless you do it this way. If you make your table x, y, and you go negative 3, 6, 2, negative 4, these changed from a 6 to a negative 4. That changed, that's going down, and it changed 10 times. From a negative 3 to 2, that's going up, and that changed 5 times. But you always do your y's divided by your x's, so it's still going to be a negative 10 divided by 5. Okay, y equals 4. Graph it really quick. On the y-axis at 1, 2, 3, 4, you're going to have a line that goes through that point right there. B, it's horizontal. If you had this equation, x equals 4, then on the x-axis you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4. It would be a vertical line going through there. But if you had a combination of y equals x plus 4, if you had a y and an x, then it's going to be some slant, some steepness to it. Okay, what's the slope? You cannot find the slope unless you're looking at y equals mx plus b. And m, the number in front of x, is your slope. So move number 1, get y all by itself. I'm going to take these 10x's to the other side. So it's going to be minus 2y equals 40 minus 10x. Divide everything by negative 2. Divide that by negative 2. Divide that by negative 2. Those cancel. So you got y equals negative 20 plus 5x. So m is going to be the 5. Okay, this is the graph y equals x. Right here. So the same graph, but a little different. Y equals x plus 5. What does that plus 5 do to it? That plus 5 shifts it up 5 units. So it's going to be D. So the m, this changes the steepness. The bigger the number, the steeper the line. So that's your steepness. But this right here, that shifts it up or down. So moves up or down. 21. These kind of are grouped pretty tight together. If you had to split them into average, your line would look something like this. This line goes over and up, so it's a positive. It goes to the right and up, so it's a positive correlation. No correlation would look something like this. There'd be kind of chaotic random dots all over that really you'd have a hard time trying to cut them in half. And the negative correlation would be kind of tightly grouped, but you go to the right and down, so that'd be negative slope. Okay, this one's harder. If you're looking from a table, so you'll have graph paper. Maybe you could graph it. Over 1 up 1 is a dot, over 2 up 5 is a dot, over 3 up 3 is a dot, 4 up 2 is a dot, 5 0 6 4, and the last one is 7 and 8. So these are kind of chaotic. No correlation, no pattern. 23. Solve for L. Alright, move, let's see. P equals 2 times L plus W. If you distribute, times everything through by 2. So P equals 2L plus 2W. Now, solve for L. I'm going to minus the 2W from this side, minus 2W from this side. P minus 2W equals 2L. Divide by 2, divide that guy by 2. So L is going to be P minus 2W divided by 2 D. Okay, this one I'm not sure has a good answer or not. This is a tricky guy. Let's look at this. If you got 3x minus 8 is greater than 7, if you try and just solve it, add 8, you got 3x is greater than 15, divide by 3, divide by 3. X is anything bigger than 5. But what you do need to know is if it was a little bit different. If it was a negative 3x divided by 15, if you were to divide by a negative 3 and divide this by a negative 3, anytime on an inequality if you multiply or divide by a negative, then you have to change the direction of your sign. So anytime you multiply both sides or divide both sides by a negative, you got to change the direction of your sign. So the ultimate answer is x is anything bigger than 5. But we went through these and we couldn't get any of them to work. So let's try A. A and B are kind of together. So minus 3 and a minus 3. 3x minus 8 is greater than 7. So how do I change that minus 8 to a minus 3? And you do that by plus 5 here and plus 5 here. So 3x minus 3 is greater than 12. And oh, you know what? This might be a way cool but hard question. Okay, 3x minus 3 is anything greater than 12. So if 3x minus 3 is anything greater than 12, would A work? Would 3x minus 3 be greater than 13? Or if it's going to be anything greater than 12, what about B? 3x minus 3 is greater than 10. If it's going to be greater than 12, I'm not sure about this guy. And then look, C and D, the difference on C and D or inequalities are pointing the other direction. This thing's kind of beastly. I'm not sure if we can make any of them work, but anyway, what you do have to remember, the most important thing is if you divide both sides or times both sides by a negative, you got to change the direction. If you know that, you're probably in good shape. 25 proportions, cross multiply. Multiply this way, 6 times 2x is 12x. Multiply this way, this one's tricky. 8x times x is 8x squared, but 8x times 3 is 24x. Okay, now I'm going to minus 12x minus 12x. Get everything on the same side. You should have 8x squared plus 12x is 0. And then factor it. I'm going to divide them both by 4x. So I'm going to have this. I'm going to have 4x times 4x plus 3 equals 0. Now, I got a multiplication problem. My answer is 0. The only way I can times and get 0 for an answer is if you times by 0. So either this guy is a 0 or this guy is a 0. What would make this guy a 0? 4x equals 0. 4 times what is 0? So x would have to be 0 to make this one true. What What about this one? 4x plus 3 equals 0. Minus 3, 4x equals minus 3, divide by 4, divide by 4. X would have to be a negative 3/4. And I made a stupid mistake right here. If I divide this guy right here by 4, 8 divided by 4, if I go forward, 4x times 4x, that's 16x. So that's too much. That should not be 4x, that should be 2x. Because 8 divided by 4 is 2, not 4. So then this is 2x. I'm sorry. This is 2x. Divide by 2. It should be negative 3 divided by 2, not by 4. So A is your answer. Negative 3/2 or 0. Which one is irrational? Irrational is crazy. Crazy is square root of 5 because it goes on forever. It's a decimal, chaotic decimal that goes on forever with no pattern. 27. Which ones are rational? Which ones are normal? Okay, this one is irrational because the dots imply it goes forever and there does not seem to be any pattern. So that one is not normal. That is just a negative 3. That's normal. 3.5 is normal. Square root of 2 is not normal. 5.3 forever. It's a decimal that goes forever, but it's a pattern. So that's normal. So my normal numbers are C. Okay, this guy right here, you got to remember the dotted line is the key. The dotted lines either mean it's going to be a less than or a greater than. So I can eliminate B and C. Now, the y-axis, it is shaded everything underneath this line, everything below this line, and the further you go down on the y, the smaller they get. So I need to choose less than. So it's got to be D. If the line was a solid line, then that would be less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. And if you shade above the line, then it's getting bigger, bigger, bigger. It's greater than. 29. The X-intercept is where this line and the x-axis intercept, and that happens at 3, 0. 30. This line I go right and up. They're both positive, so that's positive. So I can kill C and D because those have negative slopes. And then your y-intercept. Your y-intercept is where the y-axis and this line cross, and that happens below 0, so it's negative. So I'm going to dismiss B and choose A. And that is it.